Hello friends, welcome. Today, we'll delve into the deep waters of ancient philosophy and explore how Stoicism can strengthen valuable connections in our lives. Stoicism is a philosophy that guides not only in ancient Rome but also in our modern lives. This video will discuss how we can integrate Stoic principles into our daily lives and build authentic, meaningful friendships. If you want to add a Stoic perspective to your life and create deeper connections, let's get started right away. Did you know that you can decode other people's thoughts using just 3 simple strategies? Let's look at what these strategies are and how to apply them. These skills are essential for overcoming any circumstances, as mastering them significantly simplifies the interpretation and understanding of other people's thoughts. Let's consider a Stoic-themed story that illustrates how to decode other people's thoughts. In an ancient village, there were 2 brothers. The elder brother was blind and spent most of his time at home, while the younger one worked in agriculture. They often found that their fields were ravaged by wild animals. Concerned about this situation, the younger brother finally came up with a solution. He thought, why not ask for help from my blind brother to scare away the animals from the field? He could be among the crops and warn me upon hearing any animal sounds, thus ensuring protection. After some thought, the younger brother built a small hut in the field and moved the elder brother there, explaining, "Brother, if you hear any suspicious noise, just shout to scare away the animals. This will save our harvest." The elder brother agreed to the proposal and began to fulfill his role in the field. Every time he heard the animals' noise, he shouted to scare them away. This continued for several days. One day, a deer quickly crossed the field, damaging part of the fence before fleeing. Shortly after, the king, who was pursuing the deer, arrived at the scene. The monarch turned to the blind brother and asked if he had seen the passing deer. The blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, I am blind. How could I see the deer? However, I can assure you that the creature that fled from my field is not worth your pursuit. You are wasting your efforts in vain." The king was stunned by the blind brother's statements and questioned him about his knowledge. He began to doubt whether the blind brother was telling the truth since, despite his blindness, he expressed an opinion on the importance of the deer. To this, the blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, the creature you are pursuing is actually a pregnant deer. I do not recall the monarch ever chasing a pregnant deer, so I believe your diligence is in vain, and you should not waste your efforts on her." The king was struck by this and could not understand how a blind man could determine the condition of a deer. He wondered how a sightless person could be so sure. Influenced by the desire to verify this, he ordered his commander, "Capture this animal alive. I need to check if it is indeed pregnant. The blind brother seems very convinced, and I need to investigate this. Please, go and confirm its condition." The commander received the king's orders and set out. Upon returning, he confirmed to the king that the blind brother was right and that the deer was indeed pregnant. The king, full of amazement, could not understand how the blind man knew about the deer's pregnancy. He wondered how a blind man could know this and be so sure. He questioned the brother to unravel the mystery. The king said, "I may doubt that you are truly blind, but I have come to ask you a question. Are you willing to give me a truthful answer?" The blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, ask anything, and I will answer with complete honesty." The monarch said, "You are a man of remarkable insight and seem to have a deep understanding of various matters. I have summoned you today to find out if my wife is unfaithful to me." The blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, what has prompted you to ask such a question? Your union has been long-standing for many years. Why do such doubts arise in your mind now?" However, the king insisted, stating, "You must answer this question, or else you face death." Faced with the monarch's threat, the blind brother said, "Your Majesty, to give you the answer you seek, I need you to fulfill one request of mine." The king asked what it was, and the blind brother said, "I need to be alone with your wife in a room." At first, the king was displeased with this request, but eventually agreed and ordered his commander to leave the blind brother and the queen alone in the room. At this moment, the blind brother expressed his intention to establish physical contact with the queen. The queen, after the conflict, managed to escape and stood before the king. The blind brother then informed the king, "Your Majesty, your wife is not faithful to you." Enraged, the king drew his sword and approached the queen, warning that any lie would lead to her execution. The question was about the queen's fidelity, to which she replied, "Your Majesty, you may take my life, but I cannot bear falsehood." Confirming the truthfulness of the blind brother's words, she said, "Take my life, but do not be relieved." Upon hearing this, the king quickly approached the blind brother and asked how he knew about his wife's infidelity. The blind man replied, "Your Majesty, it was very simple. I mentioned to your wife my desire to touch her, and her reaction was so furious that she began to attack me instead of rejecting me. She chose violence over rejection, touching me in the process. Now tell me, how can a woman be faithful if she reacts in such a way?" Impressed by the blind man's insight, the king exclaimed, "Your insight is remarkable. Let us continue. Give the correct answer to another question, and you will be freed." The king asked, "Tell me, am I truly the son of my father, or of another man?" To this, the blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, let this concern dissolve." However, the king insisted, "No, I need a specific answer, or else doubts will consume me. I want to know the truth." The blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, I can reveal your lineage to you right now, but first, I need your promise that you will not react in anger." The king, being the son of his father but also influenced by a greedy merchant. Upon hearing this, the king immediately turned to his mother and asked, "Mother, please tell me the truth. Am I truly the son of my father or of another? If you do not tell me, I will renounce my existence right here." The king's mother replied, "Son, you are indeed the descendant of your father, but you have also been influenced by a greedy merchant." Relieved, the king immediately returned to the blind brother and asked, "How did you know that I was influenced by a greedy merchant?" The blind man replied, "Your Majesty, I have correctly answered many of your questions, but so far, I have not received any reward. Based on this, I concluded that you have a tendency towards greed." The king laughed and said, "Whatever you ask for will be given to you. But explain to me, how do you distinguish right from wrong? How can you give such precise answers?" The blind brother said, "My blindness is innate. If I had sight, I would easily understand the thoughts of other people. The mind has its own language reflected in bodily movements. By observing the eyes, lips, and gestures, one can understand what is happening in a person's mind. But being blind, I perceive through actions. To understand something, I observe a person's actions and base my understanding on that. I can understand thoughts by observing a person's actions and basing my understanding on that." The king asked, "So, I too can understand the thoughts of others?" To this, the blind brother replied, "Without a doubt. You too can distinguish the thoughts of others, but first, you must work on yourself. This work involves calming your mind and focusing on the present. Today, I will show you 3 simple and accessible methods. First, like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this type of content. Wisdom lies in continuing. Eyes and body language are the messengers of these emotions. In moments of sadness, they reflect such feelings, while genuine laughter that makes the eyes shine and lifts the cheeks signifies happiness, friendliness, and generosity. Eyes play a key role when they widen and sparkle. You can trust that the joy is genuine. Furthermore, pay attention to the area between the eyebrows, where wrinkles form under tension, often expressing confusion, intense thought, or efforts to understand something complex. The second technique, Your Majesty, involves observing nonverbal body language. The body and hands can convey much without words, creating a secret language that expresses desires and feelings. Through gestures such as tapping fingers or making a repetitive sound, one may indicate boredom, impatience, or a desire to end the conversation. Remember once, when I met someone who was very interested in selling me something, his fingers tapped quickly, indicating disinterest or a desire to end our conversation. On the other hand, a person who remains still and assumes a relaxed position shows attention. This behavior reflects genuine interest and a desire to listen more. I remember how my insightful teacher often assumed such a posture. Though calm, he leaned forward with interest, showing his desire to delve deeper into the discussion. People who constantly manipulate their faces during a conversation can give you clues about their thoughts. These actions indicate anxiety and tension. Additionally, hand movements can reveal a lot. For example, if someone quickly touches their nose during a conversation, it may suggest that they are lying or not entirely honest. Paying attention to how they react to our words and understanding what is happening in their minds can help interpret their thoughts. However, before continuing, it is extremely important to concentrate. Focus your attention on the present. Only then will you be able to observe all these behaviors, interpret them, and understand what is happening in another person's mind. If you get stuck or are preoccupied with the future, you will never be able to pick up on another person's body language and, therefore, will not understand their thoughts. Now, Your Majesty, let's move on to the third technique. Before I reveal it, concentrate your mind. We can understand others' thoughts, especially when they are also focused on the here and now. It is important to shift our minds to the present to grasp their thoughts. Continuing the third technique, the blind brothers said, to understand someone's thoughts, observe their voice. The voice can reveal much about what a person is thinking and feeling. A rapid pace and excitement in the voice indicate agitation and excitement. On the other hand, someone who speaks slowly and calmly is likely calm and composed. Additionally, pay attention to the tone of voice. A loud and piercing tone can express anger or disappointment, while a soft and calm tone suggests peace and relaxation. I remember speaking to someone who claimed to be happy, yet their voice was tense and filled with doubt about their true happiness. The voice can also express emotions such as sighs, screams, or genuine laughter. By paying attention to how they articulate words and use tone, you will easily understand their thoughts and feelings. So, Your Majesty, these are the 3 techniques I have shared today. Observe the eyes, body language, and voice of a person. Focus on these 3 aspects, and you will easily understand their thoughts. However, remember that you must first concentrate your mind on the present. Only then will you be able to observe, interpret, and perceive what is happening in another person's mind. In this way, you can understand their thoughts and enrich your existence. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope these tips will be valuable to you. Consider sharing them with those who need to see it because wisdom must be shared to flourish. Comment "I stand" and I will understand that you have read to the end. Now, whether you choose the path of Stoicism to the right or to the left, you have 2 Stoic videos that you will enjoy. See you next time.